And
then
there's certain conditions that are required to put that sun into view for each individual, apparently, because it's
right.
just in a apparent location.
Well, therefore, your belief is falsified because you don't have anything. You have no math, no conditions that you can point to. You have nothing. But we have something. It's called the ground. It's occluded. That's it. And we're not just saying that. This has been tested. It's been measured. Number one, you call somebody in Hawaii, it's there. You understand
That's
me?
not a measurement. You've never measured curved water obstructing the sun. You've never done that.
We never measure. Of course we have. Have you guys ever
No,
heard?
you would post it right now. Just post it.
No. I'm saying, hold on,
Yeah,
hold on. Hold on,
yeah.
brother. Just hold.
No problem. I'll be here. 8
Relax,
years
relax.
now.
You relax, brother. I'm just saying, human beings they've used satellites with microwave altimeters, thermal imaging that has measured the Earth very accurately. You understand me?
Go ahead, post it, man. Whatever way you say they've measured curved water, just go ahead and post it, man, please.
Okay, I will in a minute, but let me say this, and then I will post it. Just give me a chance.
You're gonna say this before you post it?
Yes, just give me a chance.
No problem.
The water molecule is linear. Sorry, the water molecule is not linear, right? And that not linear bond makes it flexible to bend around surfaces. Go look it up. I'm not just talking.
I don't know that for a fact. You said right, like I should agree with you. I have no idea. What I do know
No,
is that if you have a way to measure curved water, I want you to post it.
sure. I'm going to do that right now, brother.
I'm
Continue
sure you
talking.
are.
I'll be right back. Okay.
Thank you. Finally, someone who has a way to measure curved water. Like, this is amazing. What, 8 years?
Oh, hold your
8?
breath.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm just saying he's the one. All of a sudden, we have this guy on Discord tonight that has this way of measuring curved water. He's going to post it right now after he explains all this other stuff.
He just told you that water molecules are flexible.
I don't know what he said. I really can't. I can't relate to that. I don't know what a water molecule does or isn't, or I don't really even care about that.
I mean, Rakia. Dude, let me add. All right, maybe we can have something productive, right? Okay. From the thing from earlier, like Rob brought up, like having like a massive like concrete slab, and he was saying like 400 meters, but I mean it could be even much longer. Now here's my question: if we were able to lay something like that, you know, a large enough distance, and it was all quote unquote level. You know, it's just all level with whatever level is, essentially. And so it's like, you know, yeah, whether it's self-leveling, etc., like it all just levels. And then measure the distance from end to end. And the distance would be different if it was curved or planar.
Only by tiny amount.
So how big of a concrete slab do we need to be able to get a distance difference in the curve versus planar to be significant?
I guess people can calculate that, but if you have the tool to measure something to be perfectly horizontal and level, to then measure the difference, whether it be different distances if it was curved or not, if you could do that, then you could measure static water curving, using the same method and tool that you made the concrete slab of. You understand what I'm saying? If you can make that trough, like that guy said the other night, or a concrete slab to be perfectly horizontal, and then measure the distances, if you had the tools and methods to make that perfect horizontal, then you can measure static water curving. Because then you can make a perfect horizontal above that water at the same distance you would make the concrete slab perfectly horizontal, and measure down to the water from those benchmarks and see that it's curving. That can't be done. It only measures horizontal. It only measures the water to be horizontal with the horizontal plane that you created above it. The only way it shows any type of upward rise from horizontal or downward spherical bend from horizontal, or whatever you want to call it, a downward drop from horizontal, is if you look through an optic long distance one shot. And why does it do that? Well, we've been told by the Glovers why it does that, because light bends. I mean, it's just unbelievable, bro. Like this has to come to a point where you just say no more. I've heard it all. Like, what has a Glover come in here today that they've said one thing? Just name one thing they've said that you haven't heard tons of times over the last 8 years from different Glovers. There's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
You can turn straight. They said you could turn straight today.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did.
Right. So basically, facts don't change. You understand me? So that's why we say the same things over and over. We don't do new things unless it's new things being discovered and new things being
No,
done.
you're a
You understand me?
liability.
Or sometimes we may remember some other technology or some other piece of science or experiments that may come up every now and then. But the basic experiments are there that measures curvature. There's basic experiments that measures gravity, and there's basic observations that says the sun sets at that horizon and the Earth
Yeah, you
occludes.
can't falsify
And
any of them, though. It's
so
that's
so so
the
so
problem.
right. So I'm just letting you know that's why you hear the same thing over and over. Facts don't change. So I posted something in the chat.
Facts. What's a fact? I don't. Maybe define a fact because I'm confused.
Right. Well, there are times where scientists go and they do additional work and they say, "Oh, this that we said in the past was not exactly right. Here is the new information," and that's fine. We do that all the time. So I posted information in the chat that you can look at. Click on that. It talks about how
Where?
satellites. Yeah, click on that link. It talks about what we talked about, how satellites are measuring the Earth with great accuracy using
Where are you posting this?
it's in your chat area. I hope it comes up.
You're posting satellites measuring with great accuracy the curvature of water.
Absolutely. The curvature of the Earth, it measures the curvature of water, the curvature of the ground, all of that. Yes, sir.
Thanks, man. Is there
Where are you?
anything that you and I could go do tomorrow? Like, using the tools that are highly engineered to establish horizontals to measure the curved water, or is it has to be something that's provided to us by mostly government agencies or people, things that we can't provide ourselves, like
Right.
satellite?
Right. Well, you have to be careful, right? Because government has been demonized, right? So whenever you hear the word government, it makes you feel kind of, But the truth is, government agencies like NASA is doing good work for us, right? So
Yeah.
they provide all the information that you have. Okay. But what we
I
can
don't,
do?
I don't know one thing that NASA's doing good work for me, man. I really don't. I can't
Hey,
name one
I have
thing
a memory foam. I have
that
a memory.
NASA has improved my life on.
Yeah, I have a
And
memory. I have a
I will
memory foam.
say,
I have a memory foam mattress that was invented on the because of NASA for the astronauts. I have memory foam. It's great. It's good for your back and everything. That's NASA's invention,
You can't be serious, right?
wait, how about Velcro?
brother. I am serious. Look at memory
Velcro
foam.
too.
NASA.
Remember
Most of
Velcro?
the patents that come from the NASA, they get them from the American engineers, and they sell the patents themselves. So you think that NASA came up with all of this?
No, NASA
It's
is people.
usually not the
Hold on.
case.
NASA is not a robot. It's people. It's people.
What?
NASA is not a thing. It's people. You know,
Yeah,
right?
thanks for that info. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
yeah.
scientists join NASA, and they all work on different projects, and they invent things. They make things, and one of the things using NASA's budget that they have developed is memory foam. I own a memory foam mattress, and it's very good. It does
You,
Remember
you
that this.
can't be serious, right? They
Super
take our
bad for
tax
you.
money. They take our
Remember,
tax money and hire engineers to develop product and
yes,
sell the patents and sell the product.
yes, that's fine.
Dude, that stuff is
You're
off
agreeing that
gassing,
that's cool,
bro.
right?
You better be
They're
careful with that memory foam stuff. It off gases. It's not good for you, dude.
Well, okay. Well, I don't know the details. I know it's very good for my back, but the point is, it was developed using NASA's budget, NASA's engineers that
My
work and
chiropractor
qualify.
would disagree.
Well, look it up. Memory foam came out of NASA's efforts.
But it's not good for your back, and it's not good to have that off gassing going on. So
Yeah, it is
like
allegedly
even
very, very, very toxic. Yeah, actually, yeah. There's more natural, better materials to use that. But that memory foam stuff is interesting. I will say, I've had different stuff over the years. Like I've like slept in beds that have it. I've had like pillows and stuff and other. It is an interesting material. I don't really like it though. It's not really as adaptable. Even just like natural latex rubber, like the organic latex rubber that comes right from trees. Those are pretty good.
Remember that Robert earlier said that Jamaica is in the Atlantic Ocean, so you're gonna have to check his accuracy for statements.
Absolutely. It is in the Atlantic. The Caribbean Sea is in the Atlantic. Absolutely.
You said that Jamaica was in the Atlantic Ocean.
I said the Caribbean, Jamaica. Well, check this out. I am even if I said that.
Caribbean Sea.
Hold on,
It's in the
hold on.
Caribbean Sea.
Even if I said that, I am still right because the Caribbean Sea is a part of the Atlantic Ocean. So I'm still right, no matter what. Even if you want to twist it.
then the Atlantic Ocean's in the Pacific Ocean too.
Well, it is kind of a subset, although it is a distinction, yeah, because it is like really right in that kind of the Caribbean Sea.
So Jamaica is not in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes, it is. It's in the Caribbean Sea, which is in the Atlantic Ocean. Absolutely. There's seas and there are oceans and there are lakes
when
and
you
there are
say
rivers.
that, so now that you said that we have measured the
And they're gulf.
curvature, we have measured the globe, you can definitely throw that out of the window. Just like you're saying, Jamaica is in the Atlantic Ocean.
Brother, Jamaica is 100% in the Atlantic because the Caribbean Sea is a part of the Atlantic Ocean. That's 100% a fact, right? There are many other seas.
So the Atlantic Ocean is in the Pacific Ocean.
No, they are connected, but they are different. They are designated differently, right? Seas are different from oceans. Seas are inside of oceans.
So you can say Jamaica is in the Caribbean Sea, but
it's
not in the
Caribbean
Atlantic
Sea,
Ocean.
and the Caribbean Sea is in the Atlantic Ocean. 100%. It's not in the Pacific Ocean. It's in the Atlantic Ocean. 100%.
Just like satellites measure the curvature.
Not just like, that's a different concept. Don't mix them. You know, you're trying to throw people off. Just be honest in the debate, okay? You know, it's a different concept, right? The Caribbean Sea is in the Atlantic Ocean. That's just a fact. It's just a fact, right?
Is Jamaica in the Atlantic Ocean, like you said?
Yes, brother. Yes, it is, because the Caribbean Sea is in the Atlantic Ocean. I'm going. If you
Can
want
you
me to
be honest?
I'm going to repeat it. I can. The Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of Mexico. You see that?
It's not the Atlantic Ocean.
That is also part of the Atlantic Basin. Absolutely.
You know, the inventor of memory foam wasn't an employee of NASA, right? Just a quick Google search told me this. Charles Yost, hang on, sir. The question is, you know, Charles Yost, the memory foam inventor, was not ever an employee of NASA, right?
Well, technically, if he lives on Earth and NASA is on Earth, therefore,
things these Globers have to say to be right. For the information for people who want to know, this is what Google says, right? Charles Yost in the 60s invented the memory foam for NASA, right? He was contracted by NASA to create such a thing. He was never an employee of NASA.
No, contractor. Come on, brother. Contractors.
Come on, what?
Come on, brother. Contractors.
Yeah, NASA didn't develop memory foam. Charles Yost did.
It was contractors that were contracted with NASA, right? Came out of NASA's budget, because NASA's budget pays those contractors.
That means
NASA doesn't have it's taxpayers of the United States that employed that gave Charles Yost
I agree with you on that. You
Go
invented.
ahead, man. It's your turn now. Go ahead.
Yeah, brother. You invented memory foam. Absolutely, because it's your tax dollars.
No,
Everybody
I
will agree
didn't.
with that.
Charles Yost did.
Yes, brother. That's good. We all
Don't
would
call
accept
me
that.
brother, man. Please
We
don't call
all
me brother.
we all
I've
accept that, brother.
deemed you something that I don't really want you to call me brother, please.
I apologize. I didn't mean to
Yeah,
upset you.
no problem. I'm not upset. I'm just stating the fact
It's term of
that I
endearment.
don't want you to call me brother.
Term of endearment. Term of endearment. I apologize.
I get it.
Again, yes, it is hard-earned citizens' tax dollars that developed memory foam. That's
Yeah,
also
but my
a fact.
point still stands. It wasn't the engineer that was employed by NASA, right? That was hired by NASA to be an engineer for them. It was someone that was developing these things that NASA contracted them so they could get the patents for them and sell it back to the American public at profit. They've been doing it for years with all the products that you say they invented, which is not true.
Yeah, it's invented. They did. There is someone that was contracted with NASA's dollars. That means NASA owns it. NASA owns it. It's NASA's dollars. NASA pays those contractors. So NASA owns whatever they develop. So NASA
Pretty big
invented.
twist.
So NASA indeed invented memory foam, right?
No,
And
not.
you
Don't say right. Like I understand what you said and agree with it. No, not right, Mr. Charles Yost.
and you can
Anyway,
also
moving on.
you can also say you can
Take the
also
win, man. You need it.
yeah, it's I just want to say you can also say you invented memory foam because it's your money.
Yeah, that's how ridiculous your statement is. Me going around saying I invented memory foam because I contributed to NASA's
Yep.
extortion of my dollars that I make, that I work hard for.
Well, I sleep on
Rakia,
one.
you've been to the moon, dude. You didn't know that?
Yeah, we went to the moon, me and NASA and all the other folks.
Absolutely.
We invented memory foam.
I went there last week.
Why
Yay.
don't I get like a percentage from every memory phone sale? Like I should be getting like a percentage of every sale.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I want my cut. Where's my cut, man?
Hold on.
I invented it.
One thing that's great about the United States of America is that you can get a lawyer to represent anything you want. Anything. So get a lawyer and say, hey, I want some of my money from the memory foam. He will represent you in court. He will.
Can you represent me in court,
Oh,
Robert?
oh man, this is.
Yeah, if you have money.
We're now trying to get
That's not a great thing about America. The attorneys that will represent you in court over any ridiculous claim is not a great thing about America.
Yeah, they didn't get to do it pro bono, and I can tell you this, that's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
The thing is, once the Earth is shown more and more so, like we're like 1 decade in, so we have like the whole next decade coming. I actually think it's probably like a 3-decade-long process when you really add it all up. It's really like 3 decades.
Can't believe it's happening so fast. Like it's moved way quicker than I ever imagined it would 8 years ago. It is almost ridiculous the things on a daily basis that people like this gentleman have to say. Like people are going to wake up even quicker when they hear people like him.
Well, that's why, like earlier, like because you can have actually like almost a heated style, like intellectually, but without doing like the ad homs or interruptions. It's actually pretty awesome because you can actually like greatly disagree with someone, but if you just keep like sticking right to the points, that's when it's really interesting because a lot of that other stuff is kind of the side chatter that ends up kind of usually distracting from the actual information. Because, back to that thing, Rakia. Sorry, dude. I know I asked it and I was listening, but then if we want to bring it back to something, are we just open right now or where are we at? But anyways, I guess we could even bring it back. And because I asked Rakia that the measuring the distances with the concrete. But if you guys are on something else, or I don't know, where are we at on it right now?
Well, that's interesting, and I do agree that the distances will differ. But if you can measure so accurately a horizontal plane and then accurately measure the distance difference, then you can measure static water with a horizontal plane above it. Like this
Right.
isn't like a quarter of an inch or a millimeter over a mile. This is a squared function. Like, I don't know if people really realize how drastic that gets over 2 or 3 miles. Like, it is unbelievable. A child with a ruler given enough time could measure accurate enough to get that squared function like showing right if it was actually happening.
I wanted to comment earlier. They're like, everybody's always measuring.
Oh, you're breaking up, bro.
I bet that point was it, man. That was just going to destroy the whole thing because the internet broke up. The satellites weren't working, but they work so accurately to measure Earth's surface, but we can't even communicate.
I know. Aliens just got him. Sucked his brains
No,
out. Right?
aliens don't
Right
exist.
in the middle of.
Aliens, there's no such thing as aliens, brother.
A lion? Are you a lion?
There's no such thing. As far as we know right now, we don't have no aliens.
Well, yeah, that's a whole interesting topic because I mean that can exist on a planar surface as well. They would be extraterrestrials, meaning other Earth, additional Earth from other Earth areas.
Yeah, but it would have to be
And
it'd have to be completely unattached from the flat Earth. If it's in order for it to be called a extraterrestrial, it would have to be from a planet or a land that's not connected to Earth in
No,
any
go
way.
to the meaning of the word alien. The actual meaning, it means foreigner, someone from another
No.
land.
Yeah,
Wait 1 second. But if you're gonna use the word alien in the fiction context of it, will be the way you're saying it.
Yeah, but he's saying extraterrestrial though. The word extraterrestrial.
yeah,
Yeah, but the
exactly.
meaning in fiction means something.
Well,
You can
what,
use it in fiction, or you can use it in the real context in reality
well, on
as a
flat Earth,
foreigner.
it's supposed to be outer ponders, is what I've heard is if there is other things
Isn't that
out
what
there, the outer
extra?
ponders.
Isn't that what extra is? Outer? Isn't that what that means?
yep,
Uh,
outer ponders, extraterrestrials. Those are kind of interchangeable, at least in some respects.
hold on.
I mean, I suppose. Well, I guess an outer ponder could mean a lot of things too. But if we're in a region of land and water, however that land and water is laid out, the sky does what it does. The question is, beyond the regions we know, is there either more land? Is there access to other areas that give access to more land? Those are all questions.
Yeah, but
If you
the
went
20, but
Like if you went to that South Pole and then you kept going, do you actually come up the other side, or
yep.
do you keep going to where? Do you transition to where there's another sun and a whole nother world? I don't know. That's a
Yep.
possibility.
No, we know the 24-hour sun experiment proves to us that there is a pole, and that pole means that if you go up the other side, you will go around the planet. So the final, so bravo to the people that did the final experiment, that did in fact tell us that the Earth is a sphere.
One of the
No, it
real
doesn't.
highlights for
It
Jaron.
doesn't do that. It doesn't say it's a sphere. It does. Well, the thing is that the globe model utilizes the celestial sphere. And like I was saying earlier, like the sky, in my viewpoint, is actually like a stereographic projection of a sphere on the actual sky that we see above us. So we're actually seeing that geometry of it, but we're not actually a ball in a sphere. We're on a plane with that sky above us.
I don't know if anybody else saw the moment when Jaron. I think this was for Jaron the thing that changed him. He was looking out at a sun to the south, right? He was looking out at the sun at midnight in the south, out over the void, at the same time that he knew for sure that sun was directly overhead in Australia.
Yeah, for that layout, yeah. I hear you with Jaron. I mean, because I guess if he like claimed it and all that, I guess for myself, I never claimed it, so I don't really have any need to in that sense. I mean, we utilize it as a blueprint. We talk about it, use it as. I mean, I've also I remember like we would do a lot of debates about the evidence at the time of the Antarctic 24-hour sun, which was a heated debate at times. It wasn't really that popular in terms of like not like like you were saying before. Like I think you might have used the word central, like, and then you said you kind of rescinded and said maybe that's not the right word. Yeah, but I mean, it was like one of those kind of points because of course, the globe sign being that there is a 24-hour sun there, of course, and then the AE map with that sun layout wouldn't. And there's even people at this point thinking that that may have even been kind of like a planted psyop in a way, like that particular map with the sun, with the no 24-hour sun thing in the south, that AE map, like that model. But anyways, there's a whole question in terms around that, in terms of all of that, and how that may have been kind of a like a patsy almost, or like a setup of a whole thing, which is like partly true and has some truth in it, but not like, and then is that part of it is easily debunkable by just
There
going
were
far
plenty
enough.
of 24-hour videos that didn't have any glitches in them. They were just ignored.
No, well, were you around though in like 2014, 15, 16? Because that's when I'm talking like near the beginning, and then 17. So I mean, I mean, I could go through, but like it was at the beginning, there was only like one, and then there was two, and then there was two and a half, and then there was three. I mean, over the years, they slowly came out because we would every year we would analyze them, and then the next year, like all the things that we pointed out that were fakery things, he would like fix all those things, and then we would find other fakery things, and then the next year we would analyze those, and he would fix those. And then we helped the guy get so much better, it seems, because I think he was listening to all of our streams, it seems. And
have you seen Will Duffy's comment? I mean, the guy that made that video that does have the splice in it. First of all, he explained very well why he did that, and second of all, Will Duffy has now published the guy's original 36-hour unspliced video. So yeah, there's no question there were those weird clouds because nobody was thinking at the time that somebody would make a big deal out of it. But it was not a fake video. So I think it's really important. I mean, it's okay. I can appreciate maybe somebody saying, oh, it's fake. And I get that. But at least you have to understand in retrospect that that video was not fake. That video was from the start, a real video, the entirety of which has now been published. And the explanation for why they looped it and why they looped it where they did makes perfect sense.
Okay. See, I guess what gets intense in these discussions, though, is that, like, I guess I was the last one who spoke. Now I feel like you're saying this to me. And like, dude, I'm not even responding to that. I'm not even responding to that
to just
video.
be out there.
Hold on,
Sorry.
but I'm not responding to that. Okay, you just brought that video up and then started attacking the point as if now, like, unless someone else wants to jump in, I could just pull back. But if you're saying it to me, it's like, I mean, I'm not okay. It would be a complete straw man. 'Cause I mean, I didn't make any comment on that video. You'd have to show me which one you're talking about. I'd have to see if I've seen it. I probably have, but you'd have to post it. Let me see which one it is because I know the whole history of it. I was talking about the early days. There was very, very minimal. I wasn't even talking about that one right there. There are some that are cut that, like you're saying, are not an issue. It's a big topic, and I don't think all of them are fake to this day, but some of them do seem to have various inauthenticities baked into them, which is strange.
But here's the thing. 24-hour sun in Antarctica is a big deal for us. Like people who study physics and in science, right? When I was in college, in my undergrad, that was something that was talked about, shown in physics class, and it was marvelous for us. We marveled at it, right? I have a YouTube page which I have a video of a 24-hour sun at the southernmost point, right? That one was taken by scientists. It's a 5-day video, right? And I used to show flat earthers this video, right? We were just sounding the alarm and trying to tell flat earthers that, hey guys, you have to kind of walk away from this flat earth because there's a 24-hour sun at the pole. That's what we were trying to tell you guys. And the last time I'm going to say is this: flat earthers.
You can't say you guys if you're referring to me though, because that's not necessarily the case. I was not saying that there was no 24-hour sun. I never claimed that, and it's never been an issue to me as to how that works over a planar surface because, like I said, I already know that just simply knowing that a sphere can be projected stereographically and have all the same geometries of a sphere, of a celestial sphere. and that can be projected above a planar surface and has been since the dawn of time. So the sky does have that spherical geometry because it's a stereographically projected celestial sphere.
No. It will not do a 360 on any flat Earth. The minute you flatten the Earth, you are not going to get a 360 rotation of anything on the edges. Never. You have to concede to that. I said this to flat earthers. I tell them before the final experiment, I said, guys, I will give you every dime I have in my bank account. They will see the 24-hour sun. It's a guarantee. So prepare yourselves. Start preparing yourselves. We were just sounding the alarm and saying, again, guys, flat earthers, this 24-hour sun it's going to be, it's damaging to this whole entire thing. That's all
Not
we were
at all,
doing.
dude, because for the weeks leading up to before they went, we were talking about it, and I was finding more and more stuff, like, as I was digging deeper and just bringing, like, more and more footage of it. And there was, like, an epic point where it was maybe around the point where I found the 24-hour sun footage, that first one, like, as far as I know, the only one that's out there. I was just digging through, like, YouTube, and I had to go through page after page, and finally I did get to that one, and it was like, it looks like a kind of like a smaller, like, skydiving company. They don't even have that many subscribers. And the video didn't even have that many views either. And it was just like this little collage video of their trip, of them, like, skydiving. It wasn't really, like, necessarily focused on anything about the sun. It was actually just kind of them skydiving. It does show, like, a footage, though, of the sun going behind that southern mountain, which would be that 24-hour sun effect, going in the south. And it says that that's right at New Year's, so it's like the transition. I forget which year is, like 2022 to 23 or something like that, where it's actually like transitioning. Like, those might not be the exact years, but from one year to the next, meaning like that was the fine. Technically, if you're going with that New Year's January 1st moment. Anyway, so it shows that, and then it's a bunch of other footage of them doing stuff, and then at the end, and there's other shots of the sun in the south and stuff too. Then at the end, it's like a 360 camera that looks like the guy just like sat down, and it shows like two views of the sun doing the 24-hour effect. Anyway, so I found that as well. But even before that as well. But I mean, you can even go back on these live streams, on these recordings, and even before it, you'll find me saying that, like, I was telling Witz at one point, I'm like, dude, you guys are gonna see it. I was like, get ready, in that way, like when it started coming up to it, and especially when a lot of this was all unfolding. So yeah, and then I mean, I just kind of shared that, and then I shared all those videos as well, and then like, so yeah, man. I mean, the thing is that. Okay, if you're telling people you're gonna see it because just one believes in the globe model, it's kind of easy to kind of put yourself in that basket because that's what they claim, and it's like you would assume they're right. They're not gonna make such a fool of themselves to where that's such an obvious, thing that they wouldn't let happen or whatever. So that would be understandable, I guess, just to kind of assume it and then be like, oh, somebody told someone something. But the thing is, if throughout all of this, if you were just being very like empirical and just wanting to see evidence for it, meaning if you had some reason to be skeptical, such as the lack of curvature, the lack of motion, the ancient cosmology since the dawn of time have always had a stationary planar Earth with the sky above. It's always worked since the dawn of time, celestial
That's
navigation,
ancient.
all of it without a globe. The globe is a recent addition thing that has come in and kind of twisted the geometries.
Yeah, because as humans we advance with every day that passes by. Technology improves, so we have better understanding of our natural environment. You see things invented over, we just invented AI, we invented cars, we invented airplanes. We are moving forward. So in the old days, they didn't have all of what they needed, all of the tools they needed to understand the true nature of the earth. So they were using what they had, and what they had told them that the earth was planar, flat, and the sun was small, and that's basically what they had. But then, as we advanced telescopes started coming in. Scientists started to use what other scientists talked about and said, I wonder, right? And then they come up with their scientific method, and they say, you know what? The Earth's not flat, right? That's all that happened, you know.
Well, the
That's
thing that
all.
Well,
really
let me
did
just go
it.
back. Let me
Yeah.
just go back and be clear on what I was saying though. The thing is that okay, so what I'm saying is this. Let's say you're in 2014, 2015, etc. Right then, the whole thing about the shape of the Earth and all of the different components of all of it, which I'm not even going to go through all the points, but start coming out more and more. Like I said, it's like genetic, it's ancestral. Like since the dawn of time, these are where all the cosmologies have been. So it also resonates with people and even attracts detractors because of how much it resonates with people. So there's that too. Nonetheless, if you were in 2014 and 15 and then you just got like your mind blown like, oh my gosh, the earth is actually not a globe, we are on a stationary level surface, etc. It was very minimal footage at that time, like maybe one. Those were the first videos actually in 2014 and 15. Is the first ones that started coming out in terms of for like the ever like in human history of an actual 24-hour sun that were claimed. Ironically, right around the same time that that term flat Earth and the whole flat Earth thing kind of was really starting to just explode. So whether that's a coincidence that happened at the same time or whether that's planned, I guess everyone come to their own conclusion on that. But
I just wanted to say, I mean, Robert was saying that talking about how we advanced beyond the flat Earth, and the fact of the matter is that all ancient flat Earth cosmologies, all of them, had the sun going around behind the Earth or going out of the region at night, etc. Right, and all of them agreed that when the sun did that, it was night. The problem that happened almost at the dawn of civilization, 2,500, 3,000 years ago, was that people started realizing that it was day and night at the same time at different places. That was the end of the flat Earth, and that's why all modern flat Earth models are based on robothimism, this idea that the sun is always in the sky and it just becomes invisible.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I mean, what I've noticed is there are people who are coming up with kind of forged this long distance observation. So I tell flat earthers, be careful of some of the videos that you're looking at, right? Make sure you vet them and so on, because there are people who want to believe the earth is flat. They want to, and some of them are also grifting the community, right? I've spoken to a couple of them who actually do that. So just be careful of what you're putting out there, right? Understand that we are objective folks. We
all right,
just
well,
want to talk science, and that's it.
all right, well, yeah, well, I mean the original kind of topic, it was well, I just wanted to go back to that for a second. So the thing about like again, like the 24-hour Antarctic sun. So if you were there in 2014 and 15, meaning pretty much okay, we could go back through the whole history of how long people actually have believed they were on an actual globe, other than like the elites basically and the certain people that carried it through versus like the masses. That's a big question right there. Big question mark. It's not like, in like 400, the year 400, they're like, oh yeah, we're on a huge spinning ball and somehow we're all stuck to it. I mean, there's no reason they would have believed that at all. So even though maybe the claim that there's these ideas that go back that far, it doesn't mean that everyone actually believed that at all. However, nowadays, yes, like from the 1800s, 1900s, everything that's gone on, it's been drilled beyond belief into people's minds, and it has been basically, in my viewpoint, a complete takeover of humanity. Nonetheless, we've all been brought up with the globe, especially after World War II, fully. I like I said, I generally accepted it my whole life. Most of us did. I never like committed to it or really thought it was true fully, but I was kind of like accepting that it was probably the case. I did even generally accept the moon landing too. Like when I first kind of heard that people said it was fake, I was like, really? I had to kind of be like, oh. I hadn't really, because in general, I just kind of accepted it. I guess like saw some of the footage and.
So you've said before, Gio, that there are things that the globe model gets wrong. I don't think I've heard you, give me an example. I'm not hearing.
Well, I think, hold
okay.
on, but we could shift to something. But the thing is what I was just saying is that the evidence that was available. My whole point, I was being long-winded. Sorry. Just to get to the end of that point, though, I'm just saying that there in those early years, 2014, 15. If we've all been told it was a globe, we're in the whole globe thing. Now it's 2014, 15. There's this huge eruption happening of flat Earth, as it were. That was the term that was used. It's exploding everywhere. Seems like YouTube let it just rip for the first few years, which is why it got so popular. Then they put the hammer down and did a huge censorship, and then that took us into that whole next era. But at the beginning there, it was exploding. So, So I guess what I'm saying is that and then the AE map being one of the, things that's always suggested, and then the sun path, etc. Of course, that would not imply a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, at least with that type of layout. Therefore, there always has been kind of that idea pushed in general. And one could say, is that all planned? Is that like a whole J-trig or some kind of operation or something, that they plan to do it that way? Or is it just a coincidence that that's in the literature and people just kind of pulled it from Gleason's and Robothams and different things like that, or whatever it may be. But yeah, so that is something that does go with that. And but what I'm saying is that the other thing about it is that the evidence was so sparse for it, especially at the beginning. Like in 2015 and 16, there was hardly anything. And then there was at that point in 16 there was. 14 and 15 were the very first ones. And then every year there was one or two more. So in 16, there'd be another one or two, 2017, another one or two, etc. And it was the same guys. It was Anthony Powell and Robert Schwartz, every pretty much every year, etc. So there was, and we had so many debates about it and stuff. And it was a lively debate, meaning it wasn't just a slam dunk of of just easily the opposing side being able to even validate their side, very, very well. Because there were so many in the north that are just so valid and very smooth and pure, and the ones in the south the ones in the south that were in Antarctica that were available then were just they were all problematic in many ways, and it was kind of a landmine, just kind of a mess of landmines left and right of the issues with them, where you couldn't find any
none
of
of
those
them were
issues in the ones
wrong.
before.
The point is none of them were wrong. I really am.
I
I'm
think
curious.
some of them to this day. No, I think some of them to this day are actually faked on purpose. Yes.
Oh, okay. But you have said that
there are real
you think that the reason you became a flat earther is because of things that were wrong, that the globe model got wrong. I've never heard you point to anything that it gets wrong.
Oh, no, I'm not. I don't really refer to myself as a flat earther, so I would never. I didn't say that. Are you talking about just in terms of?
Oh, you don't. So you don't believe the Earth is flat?
No, I definitely, but I don't call myself a flat earther. So you just.
Oh, okay. Well, that's irrelevant to my point. My point is that whatever you want to call yourself, you've told me. Well, you say
you said
that
when I became a flat earther, so it's kind of a loaded question.
Okay. Well, then never mind that. But for some reason, you lost faith in the globe model, and I've heard you say that's because. Well, actually, I've heard you say that it doesn't get anything wrong, but I think you do think that it gets something wrong. I've never heard you say what it is that you think it gets wrong.
Okay. We could go which topic, dude? Which area do you want to go into?
Anything, just one thing that you think it gets wrong.
We'd have to literally pick a category because it's like an octopus with
I don't care what category. Just tell me one thing.
Water stick into spinning
we
balls.
Can go
there
through tons of them.
So we don't get that wrong.
Those earlier.
I mean,
Well, what
seriously,
do you mean by wrong?
think
I mean,
we
there's
we
certain.
ruled out. I think we ruled out one time, although you pushed back on me pretty hard on this. I think we ruled out that it's because you think the Earth measures flat. Maybe not. And I think we ruled out that it had anything to do with the Bible or religion. And I've literally never heard any other reason to believe the globe gets things wrong. Never.
Well, dude, I would say there's many factors. Yes, I mean the Earth is. I do absolutely see the Earth as a planar stationary surface. So the term flat Earth just has all the different connotations to it. So that's the thing.
Okay,
But
we
just
can
in
leave
terms
that
of the
behind.
actual, in terms of the actual geometry, yes, the Earth has a planar foundation, meaning like up is up, down is down in the magnetic field. The ground is the ground. It actually is the receiving end of the magnetic field. You have the sky, the heavens.
But excuse me. I mean, the thing is what you're doing is now telling me why you believe the Earth is flat. I'm asking for one thing that the globe model gets wrong.
Okay, we'll have to pick an entire category.
I don't care what category, just one thing. I don't care what it's from. Just name a single thing that the globe model gets wrong.
Well, it's like Jeopardy, dude. There's like 20 categories.
I don't care what category you pick from. Just tell me one thing that it gets wrong.
How about the multiple wobbles? Do you know about the wobbles, the number of wobbles, and the impossibility of an axis?
You mean the nutations and all that? It doesn't get those wrong. I mean, they're observed and they're predicted. So, next. I mean, this is the problem I have. I don't understand. I get people who think it measures flat. It doesn't, but I can understand how you can make the case that that you've somehow ruled out it being a sphere. I get that, but I don't think you claim that's your main motivation. And I get.
I mean that's not. I mean you're just so desperate to attribute phrases to people without actually even asking the person what they mean.
I'm asking, dude. I'm really asking. I'm begging.
So yes, the Earth does measure planar. That's what plane surveying does. Is it measures planar foundational geometry with horizontals and verticals related to an up and a down, which are universal in terms of their relation to each other. It's an XYZ axis, and parallel lines, horizons, etc., are all fitting within that planar foundation, which is why in plane surveying, they don't account for any curvature of the surface of Earth or water, which would have to be accounted for if the Earth was actually a globe. But they have to allow for that big of a distance of it because they need engineering jobs that are done at those sizes. So they have to allow for it and basically hope that everything else they're doing keeps people convinced.
So you think this is the fact that all surveyors will tell you that the Earth is a globe is because they themselves are a part of the conspiracy?
No, that would be a straw man. If you're at,
well, then I mean, what is it? Because surveyors, it's not the case.
No, that's not.
But it's not the case that surveyors measure the Earth to be flat. That's just not the case. It's just the opposite.
So plane surveyors use plane survey data, of course, and do that. Now,
they can only do that over a limited range. Sorry.
Yeah, and then the geodetic surveyors utilize that plane survey data to then calculate into their final conclusions, which end up being their geodetic coordinates, which are then given to local states and counties and things for county lines and things like this. And all of that ends up being within a model and within certain parameters that they have to fit within as well. So they're not actually measuring curvature of the actual ground. They're utilizing data into their calculative systems and then fitting that into the larger kind of property and country and city and state boundaries.
So you know that, I mean, one of the results of surveying the Earth is understanding that the circumference of the equator, which is a circle centered on the North Pole, is about just under 25,000 miles, and its diameter is about half of that. I mean, that's just a direct result of surveying the Earth, knowing the distances between points. The equator is a circle with a circumference that is twice its diameter. Yeah, do you understand that?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go to that category, the fact that you want to know something the globe gets wrong, if somebody right now anywhere in the world thought, okay, I hear there's all these people that keep saying the Earth is not a globe and it's actually flat, or etc. Meaning that the actual ground is of like a planar geometry, meaning we're on like a surface collectively, and the whole land just spreads out in that kind of fashion. And they were like, okay, and if they just said to themselves, all right, well, if I go out and I try to just do optical observations as far as I can see, and in different conditions, and even have different equipment, if you're going to add that as well, will the Earth just in a direct way observably fit a globe, or will it observably fit a extended plane? And when doing these observations, people quickly find out, wow. And it is that whole phrase people say we see too far, but that is something the globe gets very, very, very wrong, like fatally wrong, actually. It's so fatal that there's no amount of bendy light that can really ever patch it up. People kind of keep slapping paste on it and trying to keep it patched up.
Wait a minute, say it again. I'm sorry, I got distracted a little bit. So what was the thing that it gets so terribly wrong?
Oh, well, the claimed, actual curvature of the Earth doesn't correlate with what we actually observe and can use equipment as well to focus in on in terms of long distance observations.
Well, so you didn't really answer my question about the equator. Do you accept the fact that the circumference of the Earth the circumference of the equator, the distance around the equator, which is well known, is 24,900 miles, give or take, a few miles?
Yeah, I'd like to measure it independently. That'd be awesome.
Well, you can do that easily simply by, you can use Google Map and just find, for instance, the distance between 2 points on the equator that are separated by a degree. You can drive along some roads in some places. You can do this, but this stuff, Google Maps does give you the right information. There's lots of ways of getting at it, and the circumference of the equator is 24,900 miles, give or take. Now,
24,901. You got to add the 01.
Okay, fine. That's right. That's why I said give or take. I didn't want to get trapped in the getting something wrong thing.
Well, no, that's pretty much distance, the 24,901. I guess I wonder which one their official, but yeah, that's always kind of been the.
Well,
it's got the
right. So I think they know that pretty well, and it is actually a little bit less. A little bit more than the. Let's not go there yet. I just want to go. So the distance from the North Pole to the equator is 6,250 miles, give or take. Probably more take. It's a little less than 6,250 miles, but that's approximately what it is. And you can't draw a circle. You can't draw a circle with that circle.
Do you have it the same from the equator going south? Do you have it the same distance to the South Pole?
Well, it is, but we don't even have to go there. We don't even have to talk about the South Pole if you don't want. The equator is also a circle centered on the South Pole.
I feel like I think we even got kind of diverted back. We were talking about it before. Originally I was saying if you went to that, let's say that ALE, that company, that they took their trip on, you could spend $80,000 or $90,000 on these trips where they'll take you to the 90 degree. They even have a trip called Ski the Last Degree where they drop you off at 89. They drop you off at the 89th degree and you ski 69 miles, 1 degree from 89 to 90, 60 nautical miles or 69 miles from 89 to 90. And then you end up at the base and then you did it, So yeah, they have trips where they even do that.
My goddaughter has been to the South Pole as well. She goes to Antarctica all the time.
Did she say the sun was maybe she didn't measure the elevation, but it was pretty much 23.4 degrees. It's kind of low.
Yeah, she's gone there six or seven times.
What it was?
She leads geology expeditions down there to look at glacial retreat, collects rocks. So she doesn't spend time. She hasn't taken any videos of the 24-hour sun or spend any time worrying about it. But when she goes to Antarctica, the sun never sets until she comes back home again. That's certainly true. But that's really getting beside the point. I just wanted to stick to the.
That's pretty awesome. That's amazing. You know someone that close that has been there, because
yeah, she lives
still to
2
this
doors
day,
down.
like that one's more rare. I mean, now we know people have been to Union Glacier more so, and I know that was but I mean the South Pole is even more rare. So that's amazing. So she's really been in.
Not as rare as my friend Pinky, who did an untethered spacewalk 40 years ago. Something like that.
Whoa!
I put a link to that in the chat as well. I mean, some of this is because I do know these people personally, right? And I don't think they're lying to me. I don't think my goddaughter's lying to me. I don't think my lifelong friend Pinky is lying to me about his spacewalk that there's a video of that anybody can watch. But your mileage may vary. Was he
high enough to see the globe? It looked like a globe.
Yeah, of course. From the space shuttle, from the International Space Station, it's unmistakably a globe. You're pretty close to it, but the horizon is clearly curved at that kind of altitude. Yeah, you're looking down some 15 degrees or so from straight up. Although it's hard to determine straight up on the space station. There's no gravity there, of course, so you can't really hang a plumb bob or anything. But you can still sight away. You can look out at the horizon and see that it is covering less than half of the sky. Right? You see more than half of the sky when you're in the space station.
But there's no weight there. There is gravity, but we know what you meant.
No, there's actually, in fact, I mean, it depends. It's kind of a matter of definition. But gravity in the modern conception, the gravitational field, is a frame-dependent thing. And in the space station, there is no gravitational field. Right. If you want to look at it from the ground, then the gravitational field that you would say exists there is something different, but that's because you're not in their reference frame.
Got it. Okay.
Anyway, it's getting far afield. I just wanted to get back to the fact that the equator is a circle that has a circumference that is 4 times its radius, twice its diameter. And you can't draw a circle like that on a flat plane. It's not possible. On a flat plane, the circumference of a circle is 3.14 times its diameter, not 2 times its diameter.
Well, if that was the case, like when Rakia talks about measuring water and others as well, wouldn't we just easily be able to measure the actual curved water and or the curvature to where this would have been put to rest, like if it was just completely a globe and people
You can't draw a circle like that on a flat plane. It's not possible. On a flat plane, the circumference of a circle is 3.14 times its diameter, not 2 times its diameter.
Well, if that was the case, like when Rakia talks about measuring water and others as well, wouldn't we just easily be able to measure the actual curved water and or the curvature to where this would have been put to rest, like if it was just completely a globe and people and if people really wanted to like prove it wrong or debate it or really like, almost like a court case style where it's like which one's true and then put it to rest kind of thing, which is sometimes people get into that kind of vibe, or if they have an agenda. Rather, I mean, it also can just be like think and let think. Like allow people to be who they are as well. But
that's right. And I really don't have any trouble with people who want to believe that the Earth is flat. They do start having to come through me when they want to somehow claim that I'm crazy for believing the Earth obeys the model that explains every single observation we make. When you think it's crazy to believe a model that explains everything, then I think you've gone off the deep end, and I think you need to somehow come back to Earth yourself.
All right. Well, you certainly would not be referring to me because I would never call anyone crazy for any of that. You may be referring to other people, and I hear if other people have said that.
Right. No, you haven't said that to me, but I've certainly been called that in here lots of times.
Well, it's unfortunate. I mean, we do our best to moderate for stuff like that because it does distract from it, and then it takes it to a personal thing, and then no, I hear you. No, dude, I don't think anyone, like, for example, my older brother, I've mentioned many times, he's just very knowledgeable and educated in many ways and things, and he's very intelligent in all these ways. And he definitely does think it's a globe. And I've debated a bit with him about all this. And, him and I've gotten into it a few times, and had debates on it. But we've always had I'm pretty impressed actually with his ability to debate me, even though he didn't really even study it, other than just his education. So he has just like one of those brains that's just like a computer. It seems like he just like memorizes everything somehow. So, But anyway, so yeah, he already knew like a lot of the arguments and stuff. But yeah, so he definitely. But over the years, he's also been a little bit more like, he'll kind of smile and be like, yeah, like the Earth is flat. Like it's kind of cool. Like it just seems like it is kind of more natural now. There's not really the same like resistance maybe that he had originally, but because in like 2015 and 16, yeah, it was like a shock to people. They're like, what? But yeah, it's definitely like a lot different now. And I think honestly, with everything going on, I think a lot more people are thinking like, what really is going on more fully. Because I mean, if we're on the ball, like you're saying, okay, like there would not even really be a need to debate it. Actually, you guys would just be like, yeah, we're just on the globe, guys. Peace. Like you would. I mean, we could talk about other things, but there would really be no reason to even necessarily debate it if it really just completely was a globe. We would just the people who were saying something different, they would just be wrong and probably just pushed it aside and ignored. And in a way, because of the censorship, I guess you could say the conversation is, but it is also a pretty specialized conversation at times, if it gets into a lot of the technical stuff too. And yeah, there's a lot of like conversions between the geometries with these models. That's why like I don't think it's necessarily, you were saying people call you crazy. That's not really needed. I mean, I guess like if you're gonna say someone's like disconnected from reality and then try to link that, but I mean, everyone's doing their best to try to understand what obviously this world is. The globe model does have a long history. It obviously works in many ways, which is how it has a long enough history to pass a lot of the things that it's needed to, at least to even get into what it is. It still can be false with all that being the case. So it is a model that has certain validity. Now you were saying, what are the issues with it? Yes, I mean, the thing is that we would have to like go over that multiple times within multiple categories. Cause like we kind of went through a little bit for a minute there, but there are many, many issues that I do think that falsify the globe model. The
Well,
possibility.
I would be interested in hearing, but the thing that's odd to me is I present one that absolutely does falsify the idea that it's flat. Just the
Which
fact,
one? The sun?
the fact that the equator is a circle with a diameter that's half of its circumference. That all by itself falsifies the flat. You can't draw a circle like that on a flat surface. It's not possible.
That's true. Gio, can I ask you about something you said earlier?
Yeah, I heard what John said, but I was also half distracted, but I was listening. I would almost need to hear it a second time if you wanted me to respond. Otherwise, I'm sorry, or if someone else wants to jump in. I was listening. I did register, but I only got like a half registering. I'm just being honest.
Oh, you
If it
mean
was
what I said?
Yeah, sorry.
So just once again, I mean, I just point out, anybody can do the if you're committed to truth seeking, then you can do a little expedition. You can drive a car along roads a significant distance north and south, east, west. Check out the fact that every degree of longitude at the equator is 60 nautical miles. That every degree of every degree along the equator is 60 nautical miles. That every degree along any line of longitude is 60 degrees. And from that, you immediately get the fact that the equator is a circle that has a circumference that's twice its diameter. And I want somebody to draw a circle and imagine what it means for it to have a circumference that's twice its diameter, right? You can go from some point on the circle to the point diametrically opposite and then back along the diameter, and that's twice the diameter of the circle. Or you can go all the way around the circle, and that's also twice the diameter of the circle. You can't draw a circle like that on a flat plane. It's not possible to do that. And until you address what's wrong with that argument, you're dealing with there's a single observation that rigorously, strictly rules out any flat Earth model. You can't draw circles like that on a flat surface.
Well, that links into one thing I'll bring it to, because that is a really fascinating thing. And this would really be something, that actually wouldn't even cost that much money, like maybe 20 or 30,000. I mean, there'd be for different possibilities. I mean, obviously, if you spent more, you could do a lot more. But I think the lowest amount would be like 20, 30K to at least do some enough of it. But the thing would be this, where what you do is with the sky, you take a snapshot of the sky. So at some time, let's say 2 in the morning or 2:30, you take a snapshot. That is your snapshot, and you record that, copy that, so you have that. Every night, you can see that snapshot again if you adjust your time by 4 minutes because of the sidereal day versus the solar day is 4 minutes. 23 hours, 56 minutes for the sidereal. So that 4 minute difference, as long as you account for that 4 minute difference, you can essentially keep seeing the same sky, the same frozen sky. Now you take that frozen sky, and then now you start doing angles, 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 angles. GPs, circles of equal altitude, angles, GPs, circles of equal altitude, angles, over and over, where you're plotting GPs, you're doing circles of equal altitude from those GPs of stars, and then you are just basically, once those circles of equal altitude start to intersect, you can then go to that intersection point, do another one, and you get this grid system that is like you basically build it all out. Now, I would say that for all of time, this is really how people have made maps. Like they would use this to plot the ground, because once you know the GP and or the angles and distances of all of where you're at, anywhere you want to go now, if you make a map that relates to that freeze frame of the sky, anywhere you want to go, you just pretty much point your boat to that star and go, because you're going to get to it. Because you've already mapped out, like, let's say you want to go to some island that's right next to one of your other main GP points. You would just angle to there, and then once you get closer, you would get more to the more local GP one that you would need. So once you kind of build the grid, you have the ground and the sky. Now the thing that it relates to what you're saying is that all those circles, the circles of equal altitude, in relation to the GPs and the angles and all that, of course, if planar, it would all be coplanar. If globular, it would actually be, all those circles of equal altitude would be on a globe that would be, angled in towards each other. You guys have probably all seen the animations or the way that would be on a globe, which, it would be like that on a globe. If it was a globe, you would have a circle of equal altitude that would kind of be like a section of a globe. But the point is that they're not coplanar. So, whereas, of course, planar ones, all those circles of equal altitude are coplanar, meaning all the points, all the circles, all of them coplanar. And I mean, you have to incorporate elevation, of course, to some degree as well, depending on if you're above sea level. But still, like, you can plot, once you have that freeze frame, you take all those angles and everything, you can just build out, and you can build out a map. And when you do this, you have to put the map on a flat table, and that's how it all plots. If it was a globe, they would have found out in the early times, oh no, guys, this isn't even fitting on this flat table. Like, you guys, we got to turn this into a ball. We got to hack this table up and turn it into a ball to even make the map. That wasn't the case. They could map it out on a flat table, and that's what they did. And they made maps and maps doing that for eons of time.
What's your understanding of why there are so many different projections?
So many different map projections? That's a good topic. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Different use cases. Some maps are even aesthetic. Some maps, projections emphasize certain things.
Do you know why the Mercator projection was so useful for navigation?
Something about the scale around the equator and distances being very correct.
No. It's because of rum lines. You know about rum line navigation?
Tell us about it.
Rum line navigation means just steering a compass heading. And the nice thing about the Mercator projection is you can figure out the rum line. You connect any 2 points and find connect it with a straight line. Get the heading off of that straight line, and that is the compass heading that you have to follow to get there. You won't be following the shortest path, but oftentimes it's close enough, and the ease of doing it made it better. And often what they did, of course, in the old days is they would steer kind of quickly as possible to a latitude that they knew There were no islands or rocks on, and then they'd just steer a compass heading along that latitude until they got to where they were going. But rumline navigation was a really important thing, especially because at the time, without good timekeeping, there was no way to determine what longitude you were at. You could determine your latitude from celestial navigation, but you needed a good clock to determine longitude. If you've never read the book Longitude, I highly recommend it. It's a great read, and it talks about the progression, the way the need for good timekeepers for navigation actually pushed the development of clock technology.
Yeah, dude, and that rum line is like a complete spiral, which is beautiful. So
Right.
these are, I mean, everything there's definitely they're onto something, or there's truth involved in what is being, because
So that's why it was useful, right? Nobody kidded themselves that that's what the Earth looked like, but it was a very useful projection. If the Earth actually looked like that, then if you could actually draw a map of the Earth, then you would just do that, and you would just draw your straight lines, and you just follow them. But it isn't. So we have like hundreds of different projections which are useful in different situations, but all of which are wrong.
Well, John, let me ask you this. Okay, well, what do you want to move to? I mean, there's a lot of components. Yeah, the rum lines are interesting. That's a whole interesting thing as well. But that also can be mapped like on an azimuth as well. Because when you look at a sphere, like Globe Inside Out is his name right now. He just posted this. I'm just gonna repost it. But so with this, like you have that azimuthal on the bottom, azimuthal grid. You have the globe there. So if you project a globe downwards, you get an azimuthal grid like that. And then if you take that sphere and you go sideways with it, you get that like stereographic projection of it over on the vertical wall there. So that's what that ends up being. So you can have the celestial sphere that actually looks like that vertical wall. Now, if you were to take that vertical wall and put it up on the ceiling and make those two things the poles in the middle of the equator, that is like a sphere because it comes from this sphere right here, but it's on the ceiling. You see what I mean? At least with that layout.
I know that's not. I don't know what the floor and the wall have to do with it. That's not a projection onto the floor and the wall. You don't get that look if you just project the sphere in that way. Those are both azimuthal equidistant or maybe azimuthal equal area. Those are two variants on azimuthal equa things. The azimuthal equal area map is actually a little bit more compelling in many ways, but they both have the same.
No. I was talking.
Standpoint.
Oh no. Okay. If you're responding to something he posted, that's something different. I guess.
Oh.
Okay. I was just responding to the thing I just posted. I'm saying I reposted it. It's the one with the red grid there.
with the floor and the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't get. I mean, if you project that Earth on the wall, that's not what you get. It's an azimuthal equidistant projection. Based on an arbitrary choice of center point on the equator, right? And so the first question comes, how do you decide which point on the equator to use to do the azimuthal equidistant projection around? But that's not what you get, right? The pole is at the top there. If you just project that onto the wall, there's nothing above the North Pole or below the South Pole. So it's more complicated than that. It's, as I say, it's an azimuthal equidistant projection of the globe, not a just kind of projection on the wall that you get by shining a light from the side or something like that. I mean, it's obvious.
That's not shining any lights. I mean, the one that I posted at 22 after the hour, that's basically just showing the geometric relationships of projecting these coordinate systems. So that is how it is with the globe. Like if you project it, that's why like on Stellarium, when you're looking at it, you're looking at the whole celestial sphere. When you zoom all the way out on Stellarium, you can make it look almost like an AE map, or you know what I'm saying,
right, because it's a fisheye kind of a thing, right?
Well, yeah. You can fisheye it out and stuff as an azimuthal grid. And even in these, like I was just looking on the, this is actually on the page of the Rumline page, and it just shows this. And then,
yeah, but I mean,
those are the rum lines. But then when you see it from above, you get that azimuthal grid again. So yeah, from anywhere from above or below the coordinate system, it's not projecting it in any way. It's just showing how the actual like sphere is in the center there. So like I would say all of these are going on in our realm. So this is kind of more going to be my question. In the one that I posted at 22 after, that the kind of red like lines there. Okay, let me just say this, the idea. Okay. On the ground there, we have what looks like an azimuthal grid. So that's like an AE type of thing. Okay. We know everything that's been talked about that. Okay, that's there. You have the center here, this ball. Now, this could be the globe Earth. Obviously, people talk about that. This could maybe even be a celestial sphere as well. Okay, check. Okay, another thing the sphere could be is that we are inside of a massive sphere, as it were, the cosmic egg or the cosmic womb, that we're actually in a massive sphere, but we're on a stationary plane within it. And we're in the center of the sphere on the inside on a planar stationary surface. And then the sky is above, everything's above, and then whatever's underneath is underneath, meaning that the ultimate extents of this realm are actually spherical in some way. So that's another connotation for a sphere. The other one, of course, the globe Earth. And then on the wall there, on the vertical wall, you have the two poles there, which are like sideways projections just of the geometries, of the coordinates. And that's just a stereographic projection of that sphere on a planar, just going the other way, going kind of horizontally. So yeah, and the thing is, in the sky, we do see like that vertical wall. I mean, I know it's very generalized because those are just, but that is what the sky, when you kind of take those geometries and then put it, the kind of two rotations, as it were, the northern and southern, and then the
no,
equator.
it doesn't. I mean, that's a fisheye lens look at what is a sphere. The celestial sphere is a sphere. It's not a dipole. It's a sphere. And if you look at it like celestial, with whatever it was you said. If you look at it
projection, it's a sphere to a plane.
Well, I don't know what you mean by what do you mean by stereographic projection?
It basically is a sphere that's projected.
There.
It's a sphere that's projected onto a plane.
Well, it's a very general. That's what all maps. That's what all maps are. That doesn't make them I don't know what you mean by stereographic. And the way the AE map is made is by poking a little hole at the South Pole and stretching out the Earth so that the lines of latitude stay the distance apart that they are, and you end up with straight lines of longitude, right? It's the same thing for the AE projection centered on Africa. You just kind of arbitrarily pick a place on the equator in Africa. There's no good reason to do that, but you do that, and then you go antipodal to that point, poke a little hole, and do the same kind of thing, except now in the process you screw up the lines of longitude. You make them now curved in bizarre ways. The lines of latitude are no longer circles. The nice thing about the AE projection centered on the North Pole is it preserves the circularity of lines of latitude. It preserves the straightness of lines of longitude. It gives you a nice ice wall around the outside if you care about stuff like that. It does all sorts of nice things. There is no flat map that does such a nice job of all that. And the problem that you really face now is the fact that lines of longitude are straight lines. And the problem is they intersect at two places. You can't have a bunch of straight lines intersect at two places on a flat surface. That's not possible.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, if you have any like data for those kind of measurements or things, that'd be interesting to see. I would like to also add all these. I mean, these are all like on the list of things to do. Yeah, because to get some like real world data, like what I'm saying is that this, if we want to say like the debate of the shape, either I guess. Well, the thing is, see, as far as we know, going back through humanity, like they always had a stationary planar ground with, of course, the different utilization and everything they understood about the sky as well. I don't even necessarily believe the whole mainstream story of that as well, of how they claim history went. So that's a whole nother entire topic. But anyways, but then the globe has been brought in, as it were, as this kind of like this claim that, okay, it really was a globe, and that they've discovered it. And then the whole history of it, which, we could get to. Let's just leave that to the side for the moment. So, and then bring it up to the modern day. So, I mean, John, what I'm saying is that it's only a matter of time there's going to be more and more resources available as time permits and as the time is right, because I think the overall like creationary process of all this, it's not meant to happen overnight. It's not just like a quick thing. It's literally years of unfolding. So as we move into this year and then into next year, so yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot happening. And what I'm saying is that if you want to say like the debate between those two, as it were, like, well, when will this end, quote unquote, or like people want it to be more definitive. Well, that's the thing. Like, more things need to be done, because like what you just claimed right there about these lines where they meet. I mean, have you been there? Did you measure those things? I mean, if you have, awesome. I would like to see that data. If it's something you've heard, I hear that too. I would like to, maybe I could look at the particular one or see if I've seen the one you're talking about. But there's just a lot of things that, you know, if we like, let's say we really were working together, and instead of any enemy vibe, we were just totally on the same page. And of course, this would have to be where there's resources and funding and so on that's happening as well. And so if that was happening as well abundantly, to where we could actually do some pretty cool stuff and actually be able to work together, you know, because if we could like systematically like measure the curve, if you're claiming it's there, or, you know, some of these things go to space, or whatever ideas you think could prove it. I mean, if your concern is that people are thinking this, well, then I guess in a way it would kind of, if that's your agenda, I guess. I mean, in here it's like it comes through as debating, but I mean, if that is what you're really wanting to do, then it seems like you're. I mean, I'm not trying to say you have a tough job, but I do think it's an impossible one. But nonetheless, the thing is though, is that like, I guess, like, do you agree that we could do more tests and data and things to get, and if it does, and if we do those and it comes to curve, then hallelujah, we found the curve. And if it never does and it keeps showing planar, like the laser tests, the long distance observations, like plane surveying, just seems like endlessly, there's so many components that sync up to, we are just on a planar foundation that's been modeled as a globe and sold as such.
It's just such a funny attitude to me. I would team up with somebody as long as I had some sense that they would have respect for arguments that are strictly rigorous. Things like the fact. I've taken pictures of the sun all day from dawn to dusk. It's the same size all day, except for the minor vertical compression when it's near the horizon. That's just a fact. Anybody can do that all by themselves. And yet I don't have any faith that anybody who believes in flat Earth will follow that simple fact to its only logical conclusion.
No.
Okay, so wait,
You
what
can
is
see
the
that
wait?
from 93 million miles? You think you can see that from 93 million miles away? That just blows my mind that anybody thinks that. You actually believe that light can travel that far?
How far
So
can
you're
light
saying you
travel?
can't see the sun during the day? Is that what I don't understand what your argument
Well, hold
is.
on. Let's not. Well, wait. What was the? Hold on. What was the main point? We
The
could
main
shift to
point
that,
is
but let me
this:
tell you
that
this.
the sun is the same apparent
Oh yeah,
size.
the
It's
angular
half a
size thing.
degree.
Yeah.
You cannot. There it is. It changes size undetectably over the course of a day, except for minor compression due to standard atmospheric refraction when it's near the horizon. It's the same size from sunup to sundown, and it travels across the sky at a constant rate all day. Those are simple facts that anybody can verify, and they lead to only one conclusion when it comes to the flat Earth. You can't make a flat Earth that has the sun doing that unless you let it go around behind. That observation tells you for sure that the sun is extremely far away. It can't do that unless it's extremely far away. And if it's extremely far away, the only way you can make night is to have it go around behind the Earth. That's what every thinking person knew it did 3,000 years ago, but then they found out that it was night and day at different places at the same time. And they were primitive, as I always say, but they weren't stupid. They understood that you couldn't make night and day at the same time with a sun that was obviously far away because everybody saw it the same size all day.
Yeah, no, I hear what the conundrum you're describing. It's not really a conundrum from my
I
viewpoint
need a
because
partner. I need
it
a partner
implies
who will operate in good faith, and good faith means not just running on to the next argument when somebody has given you a dead ass simple argument that leads to only one possible conclusion.
The thing
I'm
you're not
sorry. I'm getting
you're good.
flustered now, so I'm gonna leave. But
No,
I
no,
do
no.
appreciate I do appreciate your attitude, Gio. But I just think somehow that nothing anybody says, if it's inconvenient, ever lodges in your brain long enough for you to say, "Wow, that's really a good point." I just think every once in a while, I'd like to hear, "Oh, let me think about that." But I never hear that from flat earthers. Never. I really do never hear that.
The reason why is because the one thing that will never be questioned is the literal of flatness of water. That's what FE. That's the core of FE. Is water's level, water's flat. That's a knowing, and that knowing is not questioned or will not be considered in
Yeah.
these debates in these platforms.
I hear that, brother. I do hear that.
I don't think the flat earthers are necessarily not in good faith. I think they are being honest. In their honesty, in their processing of an honest answer to give, questioning flat Earth is not an option in that. So
Well,
That's right. I think that's pretty clear. Yeah.
that's not anything I'm doing, and I don't even hear that. Maybe some people could have that in other areas or in different ways. I guess anyone could have that about something, but I mean, we freely discuss everything here. But, well, so the thing is okay. Let me say one thing. Like, kind of debating and like intellectually sparring is fun, but at the same time, my like end goal is not like win a debate and just like scream louder and be right. Like that's not really what it's about ultimately, because in some of these things, like there are projects that need to be done that haven't been done yet, and they require teams and everything to be put together to do it all, of course. And I think that will come and happen over time. But I'm just saying that. So there's many things that just need to be done. So like I'm more interested in that as well. Like for example, the claim that water curves, I would love to see a measurement of it. If we can find one way to do it, two ways, three way, 4, 5. And if we can do that, and even as a community, those that want to work together can validate it. And we can even, I mean, if there's other ones that are claimed, we could go replicate those as well. Like if somebody feels like they found something online that looked like good and they thought it was correct, to go replicate that as well. All of the above, and come together, because yeah, there's different characters in all of these discussions and communities. Some people have different agendas, different things going on. So yeah, that could be challenging when also kind of, keeping it open to people as well, and not, just having it be completely shut off from people. But there's different ways to kind of have different kinds of engagements. But anyways, so yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I'm just saying I'm also more interested in like doing further tests and things to like validate all of these things, like even doing the interferometry tests, like repeating Dayton Miller's work, for example, repeating all of that. Like we need to do all of that. So whatever the conclusions are, if we get all globe and all rotating ball, then that's what we'll come to. If people are thinking that so strongly, that's what it is. However, it seems like there's a lot of attention to it because perhaps on some deeper level that's not what it is, or that there's something is a little funky about the globe when you really think of it as an overall thing, and that there could be something else going on, which we really could just consider that most likely everybody who's involved has some interest that likely can be the case.
So
But
Gio,
the fact that I'm here is actually a liability.
John, 1 second. I heard Gio
For who? You or
in the
us?
beginning of that
Well, it's a
mention.
liability for my argument. The fact that I'm interested
just
makes
joking.
it a liability. Sorry, Globe. Go ahead.
I heard Gio in the beginning of that ask he'd like for maybe not now, but for Globers to show curvature and maybe the concave. Let me make it quick for you.
No, I'm saying we need to
can I
measure and
finish?
do the things together as well,
finish,
and
please?
replicate things.
Can I finish, please? The Glober's curvature is their dip angle, and the concave's curvature is the intersection of the horizon up relative to any object in front of you, which will be above the ground. What are you going to do with that? What flat Earth has no system for it's literally based on a pure assumption. Flat Earth has no way to prove level water. No system, no math. The only thing is what the one Raquel always mentions, which is closing your eyes and pretending concave Earth doesn't exist. Which is closing your eyes, creating.
Why wouldn't we just start it like a water level?
I'd like to say something after that. What
Let's
about
start at
the
the water level.
what
If
about
we're
the
gonna be
salt
involved in
flags?
this, responding. Go ahead.
So what about salt flags? What about the mirror image? So anybody think
Flat
a mirror
Earth?
can be bent?
Yes.
Think a mirror image can be bent and
Yes.
look identical to the sky?
Yes. Considering you're 6 feet
Over
off the
10,
ground.
15, 20 miles, there's
Okay,
if it's
I'd like to
curving,
respond to your question you asked. Considering we're 6 feet off the ground in the salt flats and we see what, three miles away, that is essentially, with the scale of the Earth, that's essentially a level plane. So flat Earth has no system of verifying if something is level, is flat. It's just a denial of, no, it's not curving down, and it's not curving
How
up.
about plane surveying? Can we start at plane surveying? Can we get a card in this fight, or are you just kind of gonna? You just want to? I don't know. Because how about plane surveying?
I'm in for plane surveying.
I mean, can we at least go on a topic? Unless you, sorry, if I interrupted. If you want to just do your full thing, but I'm just saying, like, because you're kind of like, I mean, there's a straw man in a way. Like, you're
I
not
don't
really
need to repeat what I'm doing.
anyone.
Let's do it, please. Stop labeling me and trying to light me and your narrative. It's very annoying. Please stop that. Let's do plane surveying. We don't need your opinion of how you feel about me every time I speak. Let's do plane surveying.
Now we could get into like whether it's large enough distance or margin of errors and things, but there's appreciable curvature that would be in those distances that would be easily measurable with the equipment that has a tolerance level that is well within to be able to create a horizontal plane over a very long distance that would have to deviate from the surface of the ground or from water. And that's never been shown. Now, if we could show that, if we could replicate it, let's put a team together, do it. Maybe, the globe thing could knock it out of the park. If you guys think it's a globe, should be able to measure it and get something we all agree on, and then maybe that would be final. If you could get a tangible physical measurement of the surface in one way or another as well, I mean, that goes to the next level, actually. I mean, plane surveying that's using opticals is one thing, but I'm saying even to get to a tangible one, if you had that would actually be something. Of course, for the planar as well, that would obviously be required as well, because even there's so many things about the planar Earth that match in terms of like, oh, so many things, like over long distance and over the way that the Earth measures and plane surveying as well. However, I do think that even the plane side, as it were, quote unquote, the planar side, has to also like actually have better tests as well, like more physical, tangible, to really complete that as well. Like I think there's a tremendous amount that does exist, but I think to come to the truth is another process of how one comes to truth in that sense, or how one comes to their either truth or what they think truth is, whatever kind of process they're in that way. But
So what was that? Create a horizontal level, assume flat Earth, and show me the curvature. That's literally what the order in which you went about doing that. Create a horizontal, assume flat.
It's like with the current plane surveying tools, I'm saying if that could be done, then it could be easily replicated. The thing is that so many people find the opposite, and that's why this community just continues flourishing, growing, and just being very. Now I know it's like there's all the censorship out in the media, so it's like, yeah, there's still sort of that limitation of it. But the thing is, I think everyone knows there's something more here to all of this, because if it was completely false, I think that everyone would just ignore it, and it really wouldn't even be a thing at all. But
Jesse has
it is
done all
a
that.
big thing to consider how it all could be playing out, but at the end of the
Listen,
day,
we don't need a lecture from you.
what I'm saying
You're
is that
lecturing the room, bud.
on.
We're trying to have
Hold
an
on.
intellectual with like-minded
Hold on,
equal
bro.
people.
Whoa, bro, chill. So yeah, what I'm saying is that the final thing was what I was going to say is that if we could measure the actual surface in terms of curvature, then that would actually be what the globe side would need to validate that. At the same side, I think there's more that needs to be done to validate the planar nature as well. That's why there's somewhat of an inconclusive thing when it comes to tangibly measuring the surface that I will, as it were, concede to. Because in terms of trying to convince someone, or like there's one thing of what the truth is. There's another thing of convincing someone of that, or debating them, or having sharing your viewpoint strongly, whatever it may be. So. In the case of that, like, trying to like be compelling to someone else is one thing, but there is just more that needs to be done to like physically validate. And so anyways, that was the last part of what I was saying.
So I was just saying, Gio, I mean, it seems to me, you've mentioned plane surveying a couple of times, and it seems to me that it should matter that you literally can't use plane surveying for large areas. The reason that you can't should matter. And I think
what did they do when they used plane surveying?
A good faith conversation would require somebody to acknowledge that there is a reason, and that reason matters.
So what do they do when they create a when using plane survey tools and they're surveying up to 100 square miles? and they're not accounting for any curvature.
They're doing plane surveying. What do you mean? What are they doing? Why is it
Are they
that you
measuring
can't?
verticals and horizontal?
Why?
Are they measuring
Why?
verticals and horizontals within an elevation?
Well, I don't actually know I don't know the details of surveying. I'm not a surveyor myself, but there certainly is a surveyor. You could talk to Shoe Bill and he could give you the details on that. Every surveyor knows that plane surveying is limited to small areas, and there's a perfectly obvious reason why that is so.
Could I say something?
Well, yeah, but I mean, when it's used up to 100 square miles, you can have, depending on how that 100 square miles is placed, like in terms of the size of the, the length and width, you could have, several miles in there, and at 8 inches per mile,
This
as it
just
were,
strikes
and then
me
that
as not
squares,
good faith,
you
Gio. I
can
mean,
be
it's
able,
just
hold
like,
on, why are you interrupting me, bro? Chill for a second. You're just shouting at me. Let me just say what I'm saying. Now you just completely distracted. I was actually responding to the point. You actually talk about bad faith. I mean, that's just shouting over someone in their face when I was actually responding to the actual point that was being made.
but you're not. I mean, I mean, it's a simple thing. You can't use plane surveying for large areas. Now, you might say 100 square miles is large. That's 10 miles by 10 miles. You can't use it for larger areas, and there is one and only one reason for that. And if you can't even acknowledge that, we're not having a good faith discussion.
Could I say something? Just for the record, all methods employed in modern accurate plane surveying, while they don't account for Earth curve in the right to left angle measurements, they all either account for it or would compensate for it if Earth were curved in the vertical axis. Every single one of them.
Sure. Goes without saying. The bottom line is that
Yeah, I mean, the thing
whichever
is, it's just, the thing about the plane surveying foundationally is that you're utilizing horizontal lines and verticals. You're not accounting for any curvature of Earth. They use it over actually quite large distances. They really have to, because a lot of the engineering and everything that's done, it has to be done with plane surveying for a reason. And then the geodetics are when you get into, utilizing that and other data tools, also nowadays linked in with GPS and a lot of digital systems there's a lot of calculations that are involved when you get into the geoid and the ellipsoid and the actual modeling of how that all comes together into their models and ends up being their WGS 84 and how that links into it as well, the coordinate systems that they claim for the whole Earth and the whole GPS, the global positioning system, as it were, that links into that as well. So, yeah, I mean, I know even with all that being the case, it does sound like quite an intense thing to say that actually the Earth is stationary and it has planar geometry. But that's the thing. So but even linking it back, I mean, these things can be proven. Even, some of the things that, people don't think are compelling in terms of even the best globe arguments. But a lot of these things can be validated. It just takes time, energy, the money, the resources, everything that it, pulls together to do. So, I mean, we can debate about it and get heated about it. We can also just discuss it on an intellectual level. But at the end of the day, I think there needs to be just more actual validation of all these things if people have, want to get to the truth of it.
Good response. Go ahead, Jesse.
Well, intellectually speaking, can